Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. My name is Sudhir Sahasranaman and you're watching CBSE with Sudhir, where we do class 6, class 7 and class 8. Now, this particular chapter I've already explained in Hindi. This one is going to be the explanation in English, simple English, so that all my young friends can understand. Now, what does the chapter say? The chapter says the invisible living world. So we are talking about a world which is living, but it is not visible to the human eye. You and I cannot see it. For example, I'm standing in the studio out here, right? Now, actually, at this point in time, while it looks all clear air, actually there are lots of microorganisms which would be floating around in this air, right? Which are invisible to my eye, right? And you cannot see it either. You are seeing only the smartboard, right? So that invisible living world is what we are going to talk about in this chapter. This is the textbook, which I hope all of you already have. Okay. Now, beyond our naked eye is what we are, as I said. Now, please do share the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon. That's what I would really want you to do, so that we can have more and more students as part of our community. And if you have friends who are in class 9 and in class 10, please tell them about our sister channel, Win with Sudhir. That's where class 9 and 10 syllabus is going to be taught for English, science and social science in simple English. Let's get started without wasting any time. Now, before I start this, I'll keep alternating between the text and the presentation that I have prepared. Okay, so let me get to the text straight away. Okay, so the human eye can only see objects that are above a particular size. Okay, that's what I told you. Now, for a long time, many tiny things around us have remained unknown, mainly because we could not see them. So long ago, people discovered that a curved piece of glass, okay, which was curved in the sense that, 1 minute, let me just take out the pen. A piece of glass which was curved on the sides. So if it was like this, where it is kind of thick out here in the center and narrow at both ends, a curved piece of glass could make small things look bigger. This was called a lens, right? The middle piece of glass was like a lentil seed, like a seed which you are saying dal piece, right? Thick in the middle and thin at the edge, hence they are called it a lens. And over time, lenses have improved to become more powerful. Each new tool, from simple magnifying glasses to microscopes, helped humans see what their eyes could not. The invention of the microscope opened a fascinating hidden world filled with tiny living creatures. We will explore all that. Okay, so microscope, I hope you have gone to your biology lab in your school. If you have not, I would strongly advise you to make a visit to the biology lab. Look through the microscope to see the world. Put something underneath. Tell the lab assistant to just help you. Tell the bhaiya to say, please allow us to see through the microscope, so that we get a practical feel of how things are. So that essentially is using a powerful set of lens. Now, the microscope at your school could be the very basic microscope, but when you go to big scientific labs, like for example, there is the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology called CCMB here in Hyderabad, and you have various scientific institutions like the Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru. There they would be using many powerful microscopes, because the more powerful the lens is, the smaller the living organism it would be able to see. So what I want to now show you is through this presentation. So a piece of glass, it is shaped like a lentil seed, which I just now told you. Thick in the middle and thin at the edges is called a lens. It can make small things look bigger. Examples are magnifying glass and microscopes. So you can see this is a magnifying glass. You hold it here and you are able to, of course, not with a magnifying glass, but with a microscope, you will be able to see all these tiny creatures, which otherwise through the naked eye, even though if this boy is wearing specs, this girl is wearing specs, they would not be able to see. So that is the power of the lens, which is used in magnifying glass as well as microscopes. I hope this is clear. Now, which is the smallest living organism around us that is visible to the naked eye? Okay, how small a thing can eyes actually see? Now, this is something which is there in your textbook. The smallest living organism, the smallest organism around us that is visible to the naked eye is amoeba. The human eye can see objects that are at least 0.1 millimeter in size. Okay, that is roughly the size of a human hair strand. You know, the human hair, that much length, I mean the width, you would be able to see the size. Okay, or a dust particle floating in the sunlight. When there is sunlight, you would, if you get up in the morning, okay, around 6:30, when the sunlight is streaming into your room, and you just look at the stream of sunlight, you would be able to see the dust particles floating around. So you need the sunlight to fall on the dust particles, and the human eye would be able to see. But right now, I would not be able to see. But imagine if there was sunlight streaming into this studio, I would probably be able to see some dust particles floating in the air. Okay, so that much the human eye can actually see. So it says, yeah, so all these living beings, whether plants or animals, are called organisms. And here the question which I have just now answered: have you ever noticed the smallest organism around you that is visible to the naked eye? I just now told you. Think about it. How small a thing can your eyes actually see? So I have answered the question as part of my presentation. So now what you do is, we will look through this in as part of the presentation. It would be more clear. Very fascinating. Why is this kind of getting highlighted? I need to fix this. Okay, now let's define what exactly is an organism. An organism is any living being that can carry out the basic life processes on its own, which includes a plant, which includes a wild beast, which includes a bird, a butterfly, plants of all sizes, aquatic animals like whales and sharks and dolphins and fishes, right? So any living being that can carry out the basic life processes, which includes the process of respiration, digestion, excretion, etc., right? Eating, growing, reproducing, responding to the environment, and excreting waste, from amoeba to banyan tree to the leopard. So all these are living organisms. Okay, I'm teaching you from the very basics so that there is no doubt ever. See, please remember that now you are going to be a generation of students for who rote learning is out. Your seniors and super seniors survived and succeeded by just ratta marifying. No longer for you. In class 9, when you go next year, you will be told, Bache, you can carry your book. You can open your book. You can carry your notes. You can refer to your notes. But they will not ask you questions directly. They will ask you example-based, real-life example-based, case study-based questions, which will not be there directly in your textbook. So you will have to apply your brain. That is what is going to be the big change that is going to come about. And that is very good news for people like me, for educators like me, because there is a group of educators who only tell you what is there in the textbook. I will tell you things beyond the textbook about the real world, because the questions now will be asked about the real world based on the theories which are there in your textbook. The theory will be there in the textbook, but about that, it could be from anywhere in the entire world, and that would make education and learning very fascinating. Okay, so I am very excited about that. For me, toppers does not mean toppers just to pass the examination as some people try to make it. वो दुकानदारी मैं नहीं करता हूं. My idea is to create a generation of children who are curious, who are inquisitive, who are excited about life, because only then you can become fascinating and fantastic scientists, engineers, doctors, biochemists, different kinds of fascinating careers you can actually follow. So look at something like this. Now, when you look through a microscope, a fly like this You can see it like this at close quarters in extremely magnified cell. You can see the eye, you can see the various parts of the fly when you put it under a magnifying glass. Another thing, which an experiment which you can do right now at home, what you should do is to, on your textbook, okay, on your textbook, get a glass of water, a glass tumbler, fill water, clear water in it, and you will be able to see that you are able to read the letters in slightly enlarged size, right? Those letters, those alphabets, those lines actually are enlarged, right? So that is something very fascinating which you can look at. You can do this experiment right now at home itself. So what exactly are microscopes? Now, microscopes and magnifying glasses. Now, this is a magnifying glass. This is a microscope. Okay, I hope you have seen it and know. This is a magnifying glass. So the scientist is looking through the magnifying glass at whatever object he has in the petri dish. This lady is looking, this is a slide on which she has put something, and she's looking through the microscope, and these two are the two lenses which she will use in order to see whatever is there on that slide, right? So this is a microscope, the kind that you may be having in your school biology lab. So the microscope or the magnifying glasses, they revolutionize science, because until then what you did not see obviously did not exist, right? But once you could see things which are not visible through the naked eye, that kind of created a revolution in the world of biology science, biological science. So using a convex lens, when it is thicker in the middle, it is called a convex lens. When it is thinner in the middle, it is called a concave lens, right? So using a convex lens to enlarge small objects, magnifying lens helps us see details of insects, leaves. Microscopes use multiple lenses, that is more than one lens, and help discover virus and bacteria. So it is something very fascinating, the way they have completely revolutionized the world of biology and science. Okay. Now, let's now look to how the cell was discovered. Who coined the term cell and how did he discover it? But you should know what exactly is cell. This is what a cell looks like. And each one of us, whether it is a leaf, whether it is an animal, whether it is a bird, whether it is a human being, all of us have millions of cells inside us. Okay, so what exactly does it mean? So, okay, I will have this as part of the presentation itself. So I'll show you, as it will be more fascinating. So in a book called Micrographia, Robert Hooke showed detailed drawings of tiny things. Okay, Robert Hooke was the person who coined the term called cell in 1665. How did he do that? While observing a thin slice of cork, he marveled at how similar they look to the compartments in a honeycomb. Honeycomb is the madhumakhi ka chatta, right? A honeycomb, right? He drew what he saw and called each small space a cell, right? So he did that when he saw something like this. A cork is something, is a brown color object, and through that, that's what he saw. Okay, now this is a honeycomb, right? A honey from which honey is extracted, right? So that's what he did. Now in the 1660s, there was another Dutch scientist called Antony van Leeuwenhoek. He made better quality lenses that allowed him to build more useful microscopes. He was the first person to clearly see and describe, bacteria and blood cells. Therefore, he is called the father of microbiology. So this particular person, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, this can come as an MCQ. Of course, it's a straight recall question. But again, on this also, they can twist it and ask you more in-depth kind of competency-based questions also. So you need to know what he did, on the basis of which he is called the father of microbiology. Okay. So before we go to the structure of the cell in both plant and animal cells, let's go back to the text just to see we have not left out anything. So this is what Robert Hooke did, and Subsequently, Antony van Leeuwenhoek is also, I have already mentioned to you. Okay, these were the early kind of microscopes that were discovered at that time. So what is a cell? Now, all living beings, just like what I told you just now, are made up of cells. You might wonder what cells actually look like. Let's take a closer look at cells. So what you need to do this experiment is to take an onion from your kitchen, okay, with permission from your mom or dad, and then just do a peel of one of the layers of the onion. Okay, that peel of onion, which is very, very thin, you will put it under the microscope after mixing it with certain kind of chemicals which are mentioned here, a red color stain, and you would be able to see, once you do it like this, okay, from the onion you take the peel, okay, the peel you put it inside. This is proving to be a problem. You put it on this particular petri dish and see it through the microscope. What you will see is something like this. Okay, there are lots of, it's almost like a brick wall, you know, the brick which is used for construction of a wall, it will be almost like that. Now in this, what it means is that these are the cell walls, this is the cell membrane, this is the dots are the nucleus, and this middle portion is called the cytoplasm, right? So that is what a cell actually looks like, and that's what we will study in detail now. Okay, there's another experiment that you can do beyond the onion. That is, you just scrape the inside of your mouth and again put it under the microscope. Again, that is something which you will be able to, and you use this kind of a chemical, you will be able to see this kind of a cell membrane. The middle portion, the blue portion, is this is the nucleus, right? And the middle portion is the cytoplasm. Okay, so that is what you need to do. This is why I prefer to teach on the laptop. I don't know why this kind of thing keeps getting highlighted. Okay, now let me go back to the presentation. It's much better. Okay, now here, if you see, the first layer is called the cell membrane. Okay, what is the cell membrane? There are 4 components that you need to know essentially at the beginning, and then there will be more details. Cell wall, cell membrane, nucleus, and cytoplasm. Okay, so we'll start with cell membrane. This is the layer of both plant and animal cells that encloses the cytoplasm and the nucleus. It separates one cell from another. So there is this kind of a cell membrane, okay, which kind of separates. So the nucleus and the cytoplasm are inside. Next to it will be another cell. Above it, there will be another cell. On the top right will be another cell. On the left side, there will be another cell. So this cell membrane is what is separating one cell from the other. So the cell membrane acts like a security guard. Somebody comes into your apartment complex. So the security guard is what he is saying, where do you have to go? So he acts like a wall, right? So he is one which is protecting your apartment complex. Cell membrane does the same job. As it is porous, which means things cannot go in and out very easily, and allows entry of essential materials and exit of waste material. Just like the security guard, he will not allow anyone and everyone inside the building, right? So he will be careful. Similarly, the cell membrane also is very clear about who can be allowed and who cannot be allowed, right? So the cell membrane's job is that of a security guard. Then comes the cell wall. Now the cell wall is not there in the animal cell. It is there only in the case of a plant cell, for the simple reason that the leaves have to be stiff, right? So the cell in the case of a plant cell will have a cell wall to give it that kind of a rigidity, which is not required in the case of an animal cell, right? So the outer layer of plant cells that provides rigidity and strength to plants is what is called the cell wall, which is beyond that of the cell membrane. This one is the cell membrane. This green one is the cell wall. So the cell wall is made of very strong materials that can keep anything harmful outside of the cell. It provides protection. So it is one more layer of the entire protection device of the cell. Then we come to the cytoplasm, which are obviously there in both animal and plant cells. So here what you see, the cream color thing is the cytoplasm. Here the blue color thing is the cytoplasm. It is the fluid that fills the cell, right? The fluid material inside the cell. It is found in both plant and animal cells and contains other components of the cell and compounds like carbohydrates, fats, proteins and mineral salts. So that is all which is found in the cytoplasm area of the cell. Okay. So that is as far as cytoplasm, and this is both in animal and plant cells. Then we come to the most important aspect of the cell, which is the nucleus, which is more or less in the center, but a little left or right of center, not exactly right in the center, but it will be there more or less in the center of the cell. It is the control cell center of both the plant and animal cells that controls growth as well as reproduction. The nucleus is located near the center of the cell and contains all the chromosomes of the cell, which are so important in the reproduction aspect. So that is the nucleus of the cell. Okay, so I hope you have understood cell wall, cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. Okay, so we have understood these four things. Now, what is the difference between the plant and the animal cells? The plant cells, as I told you, they have a cell wall. Animal cells do not have cell wall, they have only a cell membrane. The plant cells have larger vacuoles. Okay, these vacuoles are larger in the case of plant cells. Animal cells have centrioles. Animal cells also may have vacuoles, but they will be very, very small or very, very minimal in number. But plant cells have larger vacuoles. So these are the two main differences between the plant cell and the animal cell. Now, what exactly is a vacuole? Now, vacuole is an empty looking storage bubble that stores food and nutrients that the cell needs in order to survive. It also maintains the shape of the cell. Okay, so this is not really there to a large extent in the animal cell. So this is the role of the vacuole in the case of a plant cell. Vacuoles are found in both plant and animal cells, but are larger in plant cells. In the case of animal cells, they are very few, and even if they are there, they are very small in size. They give strength and support to the plant cell. Okay, so that is the role of the vacuole. Then we come to the chloroplast. Now, chloroplast, this is a kind of plastid, contains chlorophyll, which is very important in the case of the plant cell, which makes them green and helps in the photosynthesis process with the sunlight falling on them, and the food is prepared by the green leaf. So it converts the light energy of the sunlight into sugars that can be used by cells in order to produce the food, and it helps in the growth of the plant. So that is the chloroplast. Okay. So, and then we come to the mitochondria, which is performing the cellular respiration or the process in which the nutrients are broken down and turned into energy that the cell can use. This is very important, and because of this role, it is called the powerhouse of the cell, because that's where the energy is being produced, which can be used by the cell. So mitochondria is found in both plant and animal cells and is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Questions are always asked about the mitochondria, so this is something which you should always know. These are present in both the plant as well as in the animal cell. Okay. Then we come to the muscle cells and the nerve cells. Now, there is also, not every cell looks like this. Now, while a muscle cell is shaped like a spindle, like this, okay, muscle cell is like this. This is what a nerve cell looks like, much more thin. So a spindle, thick in the middle and pointed at both ends. A nerve cell is long and has branches. Some cells are round while others are long and thin. So this is the shape of a muscle cell. This is the shape of the nerve cells, both of which exist in the animal body, the human body as well. So this is again very important. So this is what we have covered as part of the notes. So if you now read the book, it will be much more clear to you as to what we have just now discussed in detail. You know, instead of these kind of very lot of text, the way I have explained to you, you would find it much more easy for you to understand. Okay, so with this, I'm stopping the first part of this chapter here. The remaining part of the chapter I will do in the second video so that it's easier for you to understand. Now what I want you to do is to go back to your textbook, read the textbook, underline the keywords, write it down separately in a notebook so that it becomes easy for you to spend the next half an hour reading the textbook so that it helps you to revise whatever I have taught you just now, and then come back for part 2 of this video. Tata, bye bye. Thank you very much. Namaskar.